Hello, this is Mimi, and welcome back to A Cup of English. This episode is the first one in a series I'm calling The Quiet Language Learning. This series is not about fast results, it's not about hacks, and it's certainly not about discipline or motivation. It's about how languages are actually learned over real time without pretending the process is exciting. Most people think they understand how language learning works. They've seen methods, they've followed plans, and yet most people stop. Not because they're incapable, but because what they were told doesn't match what happens in reality. So today, I want to talk about that reality. Most language learners begin the same way. From the start, they look for a clear path to be fluent. They want to know how many words they need, how many hours it will take, and when the struggle will end. But a language is not something you complete. There is no moment where it's finished. A language is a system your brain slowly adapts to. And that's where expectations break down. People expect progress to be linear. They expect effort. People expect progress to feel linear. They expect effort to produce visible results quickly. And when it doesn't, they assume something is wrong. So they change the tools, the teachers, even the methods. What they don't change is their understanding of how the brain learns. I didn't learn English through a structured plan. I learned it by listening to American music. I used to write down the lyrics and sing along with the singer. I picked up words and sentence structure watching American movies and TV shows. I didn't understand everything. Most of the time, I understood very little. I didn't do it because I was forced to. I did it because I enjoyed it. The key is to enjoy what you're doing and focus on the journey. Fluency will come later. English became familiar before it became clear. I started recognizing voices, patterns, the way sentences sounded. I didn't pause to analyze grammar. I didn't stop to translate every word. I let the language pass through me again and again. And slowly, understanding followed. Not all at once, but enough to keep going. Language lives inside culture. When you watch American shows, you're not just hearing English. You're learning rhythm, timing, reactions. You're learning when people interrupt, when they hesitate, when they soften their words. That information doesn't come from textbooks. It comes from exposure. And over time, English stopped feeling foreign. Not because I mastered it, but because my brain stopped resisting it. It wasn't a talent. It was a repetition without pressure. The brain doesn't learn languages through explanations. It learns them through recognition. The same way it learns music. You don't memorize a song by studying it. You hear it enough times that it becomes familiar. Language works the same way. Grammar explanations create awareness. They don't create fluency. Awareness is useful, but recognition is what allows you to speak. Years later, I learned Russian, a completely different language, different sounds, different structure and rhythm. And yet, the process was the same. I learned it on my own, through repetition, through YouTube videos, and through listening again and again, and speaking imperfectly with real people. I talked to Russians through apps, simple conversations, short sentences, and a lot of mistakes. But I stayed inside the language. I didn't wait to feel ready. And slowly, Russian stopped feeling impossible. Not because it became easy, but because it became familiar. Different language, same brain, and same process. Many learners try to speak too early, not because it's effective, but because silence feels like failure. Speaking forces production. Listening allows absorption. When you speak before patterns are familiar, your brain relies on translation, and that creates tension. But listening reduces that. It builds predictability. And when sentences start to feel predictable, speaking becomes less difficult. One of the most frustrating moments in language learning is understanding too late. You hear something, you miss it, and then, seconds later, it makes sense. People think this delay means they're slow, but that's not true. It just means that the brain is processing. Understanding comes late before it comes fast. That delay shortens with exposure. This is why early listening feels tiring. Your brain is working without giving you immediate reward. Grammar often feels logical. It feels clean and organized. But knowing about a language is not the same as using it. You don't learn a city by memorizing street names. You learn it by walking. Grammar becomes useful after exposure, not before it. That's why people who know grammar often struggle to speak. Their knowledge hasn't been embodied yet. Mistakes are unavoidable, not because they're helpful, but because production always lags behind comprehension. You will understand more than you can say for a long time. That gap is normal. Mistakes don't disappear because you correct them. They disappear because correct forms become more familiar than incorrect ones. Correction alone doesn't fix errors. Exposure does. There's also a difference between practice and interaction. Real people don't wait for perfect sentences. They interrupt, they misunderstand, they respond naturally. This changes how the brain pays attention. When I spoke to Russians through apps, the conversations were simple, but they were real. And real interactions create meaning. Listening is often called passive learning. Listening is receptive. The brain is actively sorting sounds, patterns, and structures. What's passive is disengagement. Listening works when it's repeated, intentional, and familiar. Progress in language learning is uneven. Some days feel clear, others feel confusing again. It's a reorganization. The brain integrates information in waves, not straight lines. Most people stop during this phase. Consistency doesn't mean intensity, it means contact. 10 calm minutes every day build more than hours of forced study. Language learning accumulates quietly. You don't notice it working until resistance disappears. Comfort doesn't mean effort is gone, it means friction is gone. You stop translating consciously, you stop monitoring every sentence, and the language becomes a background. That's the real milestone, not speed, not perfection. Quiet language learning is not impressive. It doesn't look productive, but it works. This is how I learned English, through listening, through culture, through repetition. And this is how I learned Russian, through exposure, through interaction, and through staying present. Two different languages, but the process is the same. This series exists to explain that process without pressure. This was Quiet Language Learning, Episode 1. This was Quiet Language Learning, Episode 1. This was Mimi, and this is A Cup of English.